Hello, people. Welcome to the show tonight. I am Lee Cole 3, and I'm here with my partner, James Proctor. James, how are you doing tonight?
Hey Lee, doing very well. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. And we started a Patreon page with Angel Gotti. A lot of people have signed up. A lot of women have signed up. And I just wanted to talk about that real quick. It's not going to affect what we do here on our channel here. We're going to still be putting stuff on the channel. We don't know how much, but we're going to be putting different stuff up on the Patreon page. And pretty much we're going to be doing interviews of people that wouldn't usually come on the regular YouTube, especially people that Angel Gotti knows. We're going to have a woman segment for just women with Angel and Marla, and we're going to have mob content. We just put up an interview today that Angel did yesterday with Marla. It's a really good interview, and that's up. And I just want to show people real quick. There's going to be a link underneath this where you can hit that link and go to the Patreon page if you're interested in joining. But I'm going to show you if you don't have the link, all you got to do is go to Patreon, and it's going to say creator's name. Just put in Angel Gotti. That's all you have to do, and the page will pop up. But let me show you. Okay, so this is the page right here, people. I want you to see it. That beautiful work there is done by Jerry. He's the artist. Okay, so let me show you right here. So here's how it goes right here. As you see, it says Angel Gotti, my father's daughter, with Lee Cole and James Proctor. And down here, Marla's going to be joining her. So Marla's going to be part of the show too. And as people know, Marla Edgar is her partner, has been her partner for over a year now. And if you want to join up, you just go right down here where it says Angel, right here, Angel Gotti with Lee and James, and you join right here. All you got to do is hit that join button. And basically, it might ask you whether you have an email or something. Please put your email in because that's how you get notices once you join of a show coming on. Okay, so let's go back here. And I'll give you an example. Like we did this interview right here. It's locked, but we left this one open. This is something that James did. He made it from scratch. It's never been seen before. And it's the St. Valentine's Massacre. So if you're interested, you can go over there and watch that. It is right there on that page. So once again, it's Patreon. And here's the cost right here. $9.99. A lot of stuff comes with that. Just read that. And that's pretty much it. Link will be underneath here, everybody. And so let me get rid of that. I just wanted to go over that because some people are having trouble signing up. But James, are you surprised about the amount of people that have signed up so far?
Well, a little bit, especially the amount of women that joined. I think that's really awesome because, it's funny, with Angel, she's got more of a reach for women. And, for most mob shows like ours, it's like 5% women, 95% men. So, it's really nice to see the amount of women that signed up. But, there's a lot of men too. So, I mean, I'm, surprised because we really hadn't done much marketing of it yet.
Right. And just so people know, we have decided that once we get to our 100th subscriber, and we're moving in fast, Angel may have made a commitment to this. She made it real quick, but we're moving into that number of people. Once we get to 100 subscribers, Angel and Marla have talked. They're going to be doing their shows without the
Avatars.
avatar anymore, just so you know. Okay. So let's go. So let's get into some mob talk. Are you
Yeah,
ready for
part
some
of it.
mob talk?
Yeah, and also, also it's going to be we'll be doing lives on the Patreon as well.
Yes, and that's all there when you go down there and read that
Yep.
stuff. Everything that's there is what we're going to be doing. Lives we're probably going to start next week on that channel.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk. First of all, why don't you tell us what's going on with? There's some issues going on right now. Judge Block's about to make two rulings. Well, he made a ruling on one, and one is Gene Barillo. Gene Barillo has a pretty much of a guaranteed date. If you go in, you've seen that the date's pretty guaranteed. It's set in stone unless he does something wrong. But he's going to be getting out now, they say, on 9/20/23. So that's September 20th. and he is currently at MDC Brooklyn. That's where he's located. So that is his release date, just so people know. And I just want to let you know that because there's been some controversy on his day. Originally, the judge said August 4th. I'm not sure what happened there, but it is 100% September 20th.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get on to the next thing. Okay, so we're talking about Judge Block also has another case, right?
Yes, he
Why don't you
does.
explain to us the next case that he has coming up? That I mean, it's pretty big right now. He has to make a ruling on it. So why don't you explain it? It has to do with Vic Amuso, and it has to do with John Pennisi. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So Judge Block is so there's been a so the attorneys for Vic Amuso, which includes a person we interviewed, Matthew Maury, is they made a case that for the compassionate release of Vic Amuso. Previously, it
Can you
had
talk a
been
little bit louder,
yes,
James?
yes, of course.
Thank you.
So Vic Amuso had been in prison since 1992, and he in there for life. And so the request is for a compassionate release. We're seeing more and more of prisoners that are getting compassionate release so that they could spend their last days, months, maybe couple of years at home instead of dying in a prison. And so this case went to Judge Block. Like I said, previously it had been declined a couple of times, but this time Judge Block is going to rule upon the request of compassionate release. And
And
there's
how
no,
old is Amuso right now?
yeah, he's 88 years old, poor health. He's in cognitive decline. He's got a whole lot of issues, and he needs a lot of one-on-one care. And so that's the type of care you typically it's for end of life care of elderly, sick,
Right.
and immobile people. And Mr. Musso falls into that category. And
Okay.
so there's new evidence now, and that's why he's even going to act upon it. And so part of it is relying on John Pennisi's testimony. And so the attorneys are, for a Musso, are very concerned because John Pennisi has made comments that Amuso was still running the crime family, the Lucchese crime family, and there's no
And
evidence to that.
when did Pennisi say this?
Yeah, he said that on his podcast numerous times in the past 2 years. So in 2020, 2021, 2022, he's mentioned it, and so the
Oh,
problem
so
with
I'm
that,
sorry, James. So he's saying that a guy that's been in prison since 1992 is still running the family? Is that what he's
right?
trying to insinuate?
Yeah, that's what he's trying to
Wow.
insinuate, and we know that someone that's in prison for life doesn't maintain that position, and we've seen it with some other Lucchese members, and so
So he's
that's
been in 31 years. He's been in 31 years, and Panisi comes out and says once again another ridiculous statement that Amuso at the 31 years is in charge.
yes,
Can't make this
exactly.
up.
Yep, and
Okay.
and the problem with Pennisi is that he's not a reliable witness, and so they're saying the attorneys have said that Pennisi's never met their client. He's never met a Musso, and that his public statements found his testimony at three trials, um, where he said stuff like he's made a lot of comments that have been contrary to one another because he said, oh well, he flipped because he felt that the family was going after him, and then he said that he flipped because his dead grandparents told him to flip. And so there's strong evidence that Panisi suffers mental delusions, and that's according to the attorneys. And also, Panisi is never going to be utilized again as a cooperating witness based on what he's been doing and saying on his podcast. And so he said stuff like the spirit of his deceased loved ones that provide him messages. He said it that his house has been shaking for hours on end, and so he's had various stories on why he cooperated with the FBI. And so, basically what we're seeing is that Panisi is not reliable, and it needs to be corrected because that is providing testimony that caused a decision to be made on Vic Amuso, causing him
I'm
to
sorry about
remain in
putting that
prison.
Michael Francis picture up there. That was an accident.
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't see
Yeah.
that, but yeah. So all it is that now the judge is going to look at granting compassionate release, and it's mostly because of John Pennisi, and also in the original trial in '92 there was also um, yeah, Gas Pipe Casso had been put in prison, and he made a lot of statements as well um, that weren't true. And so, based upon Casso and also based upon John Pennisi and the testimony, it was an unfair trial, and unfair rulings have taken place since then when there has been the request for compassionate release. So, anyway, there is a good chance now that at least Judge Block will rule on that. We don't know if it will happen, but it's the best chance that Amuso has had for getting out.
And how many murders was Amuso charged with?
Yeah, he was charged with participating in 9 murders. That didn't mean he pulled the trigger on any of them. Most of it was involved when he was, the boss. The de facto boss really was Casso, but it was in name only was Amuso, and so. We know Casso admitted to participating in at least 25 murders, but there were 9 that got tied back to a Muso, and so that's really
And
where that
and
is.
and the reality is, Amuso knew what he was doing.
Hmm.
They was tight as Steve. I mean, they were close. I mean, they
Hmm.
were both running the family at one time. But Gaspipe, they say, was actually running it, and Amuso was pretty much. How do you say? He was the boss, but he wasn't very effective at that time, was he?
Yeah, exactly. So it was basically he was more of a puppet for Gas Pipe Casso is what I would say, and so. Um, this is, I don't know if he's going to get out. Amuso has you know, normally with these type of crimes they won't grant it, but there's a chance of it. But from what we know, that he has had no issues. Amuso has no disciplinary problems since he's been in prison, going back to the '90s. Also, some of the people like his son-in-law, who they said was delivering messages to Amuso in prison. His son-in-law, Joseph Benedetto, was part of the mob, and so he hasn't been there uh, around Amuso in prison since in the early '90s, and so really there hasn't been anyone for Amuso to talk to. And then with his mental decline, he's not in any position to be able to talk about mob stuff or be a threat to society anymore. So the hope is that he could, for Amuso's family and the attorneys, is that they would release him where he could go home to die with his family.
Okay, so do you think they're going to let him out?
Well, I don't think so, but Judge Block has made some interesting decisions in the past. He knows these cases very well, but we'll see what happens. There's with him even to consider it. That does give the possibility. I'm just thinking most likely, the government will prevail, but who knows on this.
Okay, and next story. I don't want to show a picture, even though we have it. A new acting boss for the Colombo family. What's the story there?
Yeah, so this came out last month, and so that Andrew Mush Russo, had been the last leader of the Colombo family, and so if you've been following the news, there's a lot of trials that have taken place. There were 14 guilty pleas that various people in the administration of the Colombo family and capos and soldiers have pled guilty. And so everyone had thought that Skinny Teddy Persico was the next in line to be boss. But, surprisingly, what's happened is this guy, Robert Donofrio, is the acting boss, if the sources are correct. And so he's a former member of that rebel faction headed by Vic Arenas. So you remember the Arena
Right.
and Persico War,
He
the
was
Third
originally
War.
sponsored by by Bill Cthulhu. Then,
Yes, he
if I
was.
remember correctly. Okay.
He was, and he got inducted by Arena back in 1988, and
So
when that happened,
he's pretty much an old timer.
yeah, he is, and and Junior Persico liked him back then. He basically did. He was a loan shark. He did stuff with Patty Amato, and so he decided to team up. Uh, he was part of the wars that were going on, but
Right.
he's been able to. He pled guilty to conspire to murder. The Arena faction murders. I believe there were two of them, and so he did spend time in prison, and he was actually on the hit to kill Wild Bill during visits to his girlfriend Betty Ann, and this was, I believe, Thanksgiving of '91, and then again they tried it again in '92, June of '92. And so a lot of that's based on the FBI reports that Greg Scarpa provided back in the early '90s.
I'm sorry. On my back porch, somebody was asking me if I wanted some cabbage, and Holly was barking at them. So,
Well,
oh,
that's a good dog for you.
yeah, I don't mind the cabbage, but I want some corned beef with it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean this is an old timer, and you got to realize what's going on with this family. They're in a bad situation. They're weakened. If you look at that family, they're most of them are older guys, 60s, 70s, and even older, and they don't have much of an influence anymore. But what's good about Donofrio is that he's respected really by both sides. He did a lot of work down in South Brooklyn. He was part of that East Third Street clique, and back about 10, 15 years ago, he was under Sally Boy Castagno, and so he's well liked. They consider him a nice guy, but he is a gangster, and he's respected, and so it does give a little bit of stability to the Colombo family when they need it. They really need to have someone that could kind of man that ship because they've been in a bad situation the last couple of years with both
They're
Russo
considered the
dying.
smallest of the five families right now.
Oh,
By
yeah, by far, and they're really and they're old. They're long in the tooth.
a bunch of old guys running around, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
exactly.
way it is with a lot of these right now. In
Yes,
20 years, they'll
exactly.
probably all be gone.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's talk
exactly.
about our next story. Now, Sammy Gravano,
Hmm.
he that didn't he just interview Michael Francis?
Hmm. Yeah, so what he's doing, and the only reason we're bringing it up because he's got this thing called Our Thing TV and Our Thing TV. Anyway, this is he's rebranded himself again the last couple of months, and so he's doing a few different things behind a paywall. And so one of those is that he's doing this thing where it's called Table in the Back. And so there's only one interview. So this thing has been around since April. This Our Thing TV. So it's been around for what 4 or 5 months at this point, and there's not much content that's being provided. So basically, you have Sammy doing his lives on YouTube where people give him money, he'll answer questions, and then you got this Our Thing TV. And so yeah, they did an interview where they sat down where Sammy sat down with Michael Francis at a restaurant in California, and they shared mob stories. They talked about, basically the Machiavellian types, how that influences how the world is
Did you
changed.
did you see the interview?
Yeah, I saw it, and
How was it compared to when they met? when they met and kind of started yelling at each other.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed very scripted to me this time. I mean, that first one was too. I think that was
Right.
scripted as well. But, they were cordial. They got along. They were, drinking the Francis wine. So he was able to go to a restaurant where he could bring his own wine to the table. I know you can get table service like that. But anyway, it was just, to me, a cheesy interview. But the other thing that he's doing is he's also got something called the bullpen. And so what Sammy's saying is that he's got a mafia news channel. So Sammy's the host of it. He's
Well,
the
Sammy's the boss. He runs
yeah,
everything now.
yeah,
Okay,
he's got
and
one of his
these guys go to Sammy. Well,
yeah.
actually, he went to Mikey on this one. If he went out to L.A.,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he
He went
he
to
did.
Mikey.
He went with Michael Francis there. So yeah, twice a week he does something called the bullpen segment, and he started that a couple of weeks ago, and he's just talking about stuff going on the news, and so he thinks he's the next Sean Hannity or something.
Yeah, well, that man forgets his age sometimes. But hey, listen, if he has that energy in him, God bless him. I don't mean that.
Yeah,
No, God will never bless him. The devil
no,
bless.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. But yeah, he's
Now,
and so.
wasn't he supposed to release? Wasn't he supposed to release an interview like in April with Dominic Shikali? Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, and that's what's weird to me is that so if you remember, Dominic was there in March. March 12th is Sammy's birthday, and I remember that date because we saw Dominic in the at dinner with Sammy Gravano on March 12th. And so yeah, they recorded the video that week, and they were supposed to have it come out in April. And so something's going on there with Sammy and Dominic, and not sure what it is, but he's not releasing that interview he did with Dominic Shikali. So we know that Sammy is using his platform to he will basically he has the opinion that you're either Team Sammy or you're not. And so if you're Team Sammy, he will, as long as you do what he wants, then yeah, he might appease you and put on an interview. But if you don't do what he wants, there's a good chance that
Yeah,
he.
I don't take Dominic Shikali as the type of guy that will bend the knee for Sammy Gravano.
No, no, not at all. And so, I'm sure that it's, yeah, he's not going to bend a knee for Sammy, and so
And
it's
he's
going to
just
be interesting.
he's a spiteful little man. Now he'll
Hmm.
probably hold on to it, and because Dominic won't bend a knee for him, he'll probably hold on to it and release it like in a year from now. But
Yeah, yeah,
and Dominic,
exactly.
isn't Dominic supposed to do a paywall also with Jeff Nadeau?
Yeah, so they're doing, and that's also on Patreon, and it's yeah, it's supposed to be of his life, Dominic's life, and so that's what the plan is, and so it is already established, so people can go there and join if they want.
Okay. And is there anything else you want to give for a wrap up? Okay. Oh, we want to Robert Rosso. What's going on? He came back. He disappeared for quite a while. He just came back. What's the story on him? Did he start a show? Robert Rosso, Convict Inc.
Yes, he did. So he did have a live. He's at least had one live. He's had a couple of shorts. He also last week did go on Angel's show, and it was pretty late in her live, but he did join, I believe Friday maybe. But anyway, he gave an update, and so he's got a long road ahead, and so it sounds like his plan is to continue to rebuild his channel. He acknowledged he's lost a lot, quite a few of his subs, and so he wants to rebuild his channel. And I know that he did an interview. He's got a couple of interviews they did that were pretty. He said were fairly large. I think he already released one of those this week. So I haven't had a chance to look. So people can go to Convict Inc. and look. But it looks like he's starting to put out some content. Also, part of the term release was that he had to find a job. So he's got to find a job that where he's working at least 30 hours a week, and so the YouTube thing, I'm not sure if they're not considering that
Well, I'll tell you what,
viable.
I think it's a full-time job. I must spend 60 a week, 60 hours a week doing this, like just getting
Oh my
everything
gosh.
prepared. It's a,
Yeah.
and also we'd like to wish Kane Shade. A lot of people probably don't know who I'm talking about, but he is he in this genre. He is a person that has a show on here, and
Hmm.
he's a content creator, and he had a heart attack, and we just wish him the best. And Kane, if you're listening, we wish you the best and hope you recover quickly and stay away from the stress, Kane Shade.
Yeah.
You know,
It's very
and we
stressful.
yeah, and we talked about everything else. I think that's pretty much it. I'm just going to say, please subscribe, hit the like, the reminder button, please. If you want to donate to the show, there will be a link underneath this to donate. And besides that, there'll also be a link down here if you want to join the Patreon page. There's a lot of women in there right now. I cannot believe there's more women than men that have, and I didn't even know there was that many women. The people from the women communities are all running over to Angel's show. I mean,
I think it's great.
yeah. So and that's why she's doing a woman show with the Patreon, and we're going to do some mob content, and it's looking forward to it. We're just very happy with the start of this.
Yeah, we
Okay.
are. I'm excited, Lee, and I'm just very grateful to be part of this. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and it'll be a good chance to get the story right on the Gotti family, from a Gotti. So I think it's a
Yeah.
good thing.
Well, I like to thank you once again, and people, like I said, please subscribe, hit the like, the reminder bell. Please hit the reminder bell. That's very important. And we will see you within a day or so. We'll be dropping something else or having a live.
Yep.
And
Yep.
don't forget to go to the Patreon. Thank you.